Okay, let's talk about a situation that is every importer's worst nightmare. Imagine you're running a company, things are going great, and then one day you get a notice in the mail. This notice isn't about a product recall or some market downturn. No, it's about how you labeled one single tiny component. And it all boils down to one question. When is a part not just a part? This is the number at the absolute heart of this story. $11 million. I mean, that's an amount that could just completely sink a business. So where in the world did this absolutely terrifying number come from? You heard that right. This entire $11 million demand came from a simple disagreement over how to classify one small electronic part. It's really the perfect example of how a tiny spark can cause a massive, massive explosion. And it uncovers this hidden risk in global trade that, honestly, every single business needs to be aware of. All right, so which company got caught in the middle of this storm? And how exactly did this $11 million nightmare even begin? Let's get into it. So our main character in this story is Secure Meters. They're a big deal in the world of smart meters. You know, those digital gadgets that tell the power company how much energy you're using. But back in late 2018, they got a very unwelcome notice from India's Directorate of Revenue Intelligence. The charge? That they had misclassified a little imported component called a communication module. And the bill for that alleged mistake was that shocking $11 million figure we just saw. Now, here's the thing. To really wrap your head around this whole complex legal fight, you don't need a law degree. Nope. All you need to do is think about toys, specifically a big, fancy castle versus one single Lego block. So this is the little guy at the center of all the drama, the communication module. The easiest way to think about it is like the smart meter's own personal SIM card, or maybe its Wi-Fi chip. It's the tiny brain that lets the meter talk to the power company. Honestly, without this thing, a smart meter is just a dumb box. And this right here is the heart of the entire argument. On one hand, you've got the customs authority. They looked at the finished product, the castle, and said, hey, that part is destined to become part of the castle, so it should be taxed like it's already part of it. But Secure Meters fired back. No, we only imported a single Lego block, and the law is crystal clear. You tax goods for what they are the moment they cross the border, not what they're going to become later. So with millions of dollars hanging in the balance, this whole castle versus Lego block debate went right where you'd expect, to court for a huge legal showdown. Let's just break this down, because the difference is wild. It all came down to this thing called an HS code, which is just the universal system for classifying products. Customs pushed for the meter parts code, which came with a hefty 20% tariff. But Secure Meters said, nope, it's a telecom part, which was completely duty-free. And that one simple choice in classification, that was the entire source of the $11 million demand. And what's crazy is that at first, the court actually sided with Customs, which put the company in a really, really scary position. But you know what? Secure Meters did not give up. They appealed that decision, they took the fight to a higher court. And what happened next? Well, it was a total dramatic reversal of fortune. And let me tell you, this was not a quick fight. Just look at this timeline. From that first notice in 2018 all the way to the final verdict in 2025, this was a multi-year legal war. You have to imagine the company had to go through years of uncertainty, racking up legal bills, all while this massive $11 million penalty was just hanging over their heads. The final ruling from the higher court was so decisive and clear, it basically established what we can call the Lego block principle. The court said unequivocally that you classify goods based on their condition at the moment of import. What they might become in the future is, from a legal standpoint, completely irrelevant. So the court totally backed up the company's argument. They said, look, Secure Meters imported a component for telecommunication, a Lego block. They did not import a part for a meter, and they certainly didn't import a finished smart meter at the castle. That one simple factual distinction was all it took to completely tear down the government's entire $11 million case. That they didn't just stop there. The tribunal then issued this scathing rebuke to the customs authorities. And I mean, for a legal ruling, this language is incredibly strong. They called the accusation that Secure Meters had intentionally tried to dodge taxes simply outrageous. So this wasn't just a win for the company. It was a huge, powerful defense of an importer's rights. So you might be wondering, why such harsh words from the court? Well, it turns out the company had been totally transparent the whole time. They've been importing these same modules since 2017, and when a customs officer first asked about it way back then, the company explained their whole reasoning, and the department was fine with it. So for a different agency to just swoop in years later and accuse them of deliberate deception, completely ignoring this history, well, that's what the court found so outrageous. Okay, so beyond just being a really fascinating legal drama, this victory for Secure Meters offers a critical lesson for literally anyone involved in global trade. What's the big takeaway from their whole ordeal? The most important lesson is this. HS code classification is not just some boring administrative paperwork. It is a massive business risk. As this case proves, an honest disagreement over a single tariff code can blow up into a multi-million-dollar liability that could threaten the very survival of your company. So what can you do to protect your business? Well, first, always follow the Lego block principle. Classify what you import, not what you're planning to build with it. But if you want to be truly bulletproof, you get what's called an advance ruling. This is basically a legally binding opinion from customs that confirms your classification before you even ship the goods. It can prevent these kinds of disputes from ever even starting. At the end of the day, this whole saga comes down to one simple question. When does a component actually become part of a larger product? For Secure Meters, the answer wasn't found in an engineering diagram, but in a court of law, and it came with an $11 million price tag. It's just a powerful reminder that in the world of global trade, getting the definitions right really matters.